Alrighty, let's try this again. Good morning,
Good
Facebook.
morning.
Hello. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I am your host. It is Text Talk Tuesday. I am your host, Tracy Crosshorn. This is Wayne Crosshorn.
Good morning. Good morning.
And Jeremy is helping our customers today, so he will not be joining us. But the goal of these talks is just to make sure you are up to date on your education, and we're supporting you as our business community the best we can. So today, before we start our program, we have something fun for you. It is technology, true or false. So we're going to play a little game this morning. Our first question is, Wayne, leaving your phone plugged in, does that destroy your battery? True or false?
That is a false. A lot of people will say that. But with lithium-ion batteries today, most of them are intelligent enough to automatically stop charging once it has reached 100%. So there really is very little risk of any damage to your battery when you do that.
All right. So should you not recharge your batteries until they're almost dead?
So that is another kind of an old folks tale, wise tale, whatever. It really had to do back with the nickel cadmium batteries, and that was the case. The old thinking was let it discharge to zero, and then charge it all the way back up to 100%. With today's lithium ion, and really almost every smartphone and flip phone has a lithium ion battery today. Most people say the ideal range is to keep it between 40 and 80%. Now, you always want to consult your owner's manual and go with what the manufacturer says, but the general rule of thumb is keep it in that area.
All right, very good. Okay, so in terms of marketing, the higher resolution, the better the picture. Well, since I'm a photographer, I'll take that one.
Yes.
So there's a couple things. Yes, higher resolution, especially in print, is better for marketing, and that is the DPI, dots per inch is what we call them. And so the more dots per inch you have, the better the resolution. So it's crisper, it's clear. You need at least 300 DPI, dots per inch, for your picture to be printed with a high resolution for billboards, magazines, you know. Now, if we're talking for the web, it can be much lower because those dots per inch, you don't need it for print. So, you know, the web, it can have a smaller DPI. So, okay, Wayne, back to you.
Okay.
More bars on your mobile phone means better service.
So that's kind of somewhere in between a true false. So I guess start with what the bars represent is your strength of signal. Mm-hmm. How strong is it when the phone receives it? So that has several factors. It has how far you are from a tower. It has what kind of barriers are in the way. I mean, I think a lot of you have been inside a building with metal roof, and you walk inside and suddenly you have no bars anymore. So yes, strength is important, but it only tells half the story. The other half is how much bandwidth is available. And so when you have a lot of people on that tower that are not only on calls, they're streaming, they're downloading videos, they are playing games like our kids do. So if you have a lot of people in a congested area, let's say at a arena, a sporting event or a concert where everybody's taking videos and texting them, that's when you have very low bandwidth and you cannot have very good connectivity. You may not be able to make a call at all. So really, those are the two factors that go into it.
Right. All right. Next one. You should buy the warranty on any new gadgets you purchase. Well, I'm also a gadget girl, so I'll answer this one too.
Okay.
All warranties are not created equal, and you have to make sure that you look at the restrictions, you know, the limiting coverage that they have. Also, sometimes when you get those warranties and you send them off, it's 8 to 10 weeks. Sometimes you have to send back whatever it is you bought. So a lot of times what's better is asking what that return policy is and making sure that, you stay within that. Maybe it's 90 days, maybe it's 60 days, whatever the case is. Use that new gadget and make sure that that's something that you're going to like, that's going to work for you. And now, some warranties are worth it, but most of the time they're not really worth the value. So, like I said, instead of purchasing the warranty, maybe ask what the exchange policy is. Regardless of whether or not you decide to do that, I still don't recommend scuba diving with your cell phone in your pocket.
True. And also, sometimes we see that you'll get, depending on the age of the phone, you'll get a prorated amount credit.
Oh, yes.
All those fine details, right, that they throw in. So you really have to understand that to evaluate if it's worth it. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's get to our regularly scheduled program today. What is a NAS? Tell us about it.
A NAS. So a NAS stands for a network attached storage. And think of it as shared storage on a network. And so so don't think of the hard drive that's in your PC. This is typically a rack, and it has multiple bays in it to put disk drives in it. And this allows a lot of functions, like it allows people to all share files, not only with each other, but they can have their files on their PC stored on the device as well. It allows quick connectivity from within the office itself. Mm-hmm. Now, if you have remote users, you're limited to the bandwidth of the internet coming in. It has to come in through the firewall through a VPN, if you have a firewall, of course. Mm-hmm. And but it also, what we often see is smaller companies that start off with Microsoft's OneDrive, mm-hmm. which is a good product. As companies grow and they get more users, they're getting up to 15, 20 users, you're getting up to a half a terabyte of files and hundreds of thousands of files. That's where OneDrive starts to, for lack of a better term, starts getting a little persnickety, mm-hmm. as I like to say. It gets a little quirky and syncing. Some days you're syncing, some days you're not. Some is syncing part of the directories and not. And what we often do is we migrate that to an actual hard storage on the network itself. So, and think of OneDrive where you have all these shared files in the cloud. Mm-hmm. This is now an actual hard drive that is on the network itself, and is a great transition. A little more expensive up front, okay, but in time, it more than pays for itself and what you save on Microsoft license fees. Okay, so is there a cloud equivalent to the NAS without using the OneDrive? There is. Okay. There is a cloud equivalent, and so there's actually a lot of cloud options that are out there in the market today, not only for just file storage, but also for cloud computing as well. One of the big trends in the market is virtual cloud desktops, where your desktop actually resides in the cloud with computing in a virtual machine environment. And we're going to talk a lot about cloud next week, so a little bit of teaser for you. One other thing I wanted to cover was if you're going to look at a NAS device, you're going to consult with your IT provider or with a manufacturer. What often they're going to talk about is a RAID configuration, RAID, which stands for a redundant array of independent drives. Real fancy term to basically say it's redundancy built in. A lot of people out there have all of a sudden had their hard drive fail. Bad news, PC down. So what this is, it's a standard where you can have, remember, this is a rack that can be 2, 4, 6, 8, up to 12 actual bays with individual hard drives. So the idea with the RAID configuration is redundancy. Mm-hmm. If one of those goes out, then it still continues to operate without any issues at all. So there's lots of different ratings for RAID configurations. They're anywhere from a 0 up to a 10. Matter of fact, I think it's the RAID 6 configuration that actually allows for 2 of them to go out and still be able to operate. What all this means is, there's lots of different ways to configure these drives, and there's a lot of options as far as trade-offs on speed of reads and writes and recoveries to replace an old hard drive or an old drive that failed in that array. So what you need to do is just talk about your full needs of what your company has to have and pick the right RAID configuration. But the great news is it will not take you down. Now, that is not a backup solution.
Okay.
If a fire, sprinklers go off and your NAS is destroyed, there's no recovery for that unless you have cloud backup. So we always recommend have cloud backup, all those in the cloud, all those files, so that if we can replace the drives and re-download, and you can actually continue to access those files in the cloud. Another side benefit of that, often people will accidentally delete files on the NAS. This allows us to go back into the revisions and restore those files to the NAS. So good policy, good practice, have the backup on that.
Very good. Well, I think you already teased us for what's coming next week,
Yep.
but maybe for those who hopped on a little late, you could give another teaser.
Yes, we're going to talk all things cloud. Not just programs are in the cloud these days. Your QuickBooks, your CRMs, shop, everything's in the cloud these days. But a lot of business operations are now in the cloud. It's not just file storage, it's cloud computing, it's having your desktop in the cloud. There's many, many options available to businesses today. And we really want to talk about some of those and give people an idea of what's available today and how you can maybe be a little more efficient in your business.
Very good. Well, I am going to offer a tip for this week, which goes right along with our true or false.
Okay.
How often have you taken a picture with your phone and you want to get it to your PC or your Mac user, PC to your Mac quickly because you want to upload it or use it in a presentation or whatever the case may be. Fortunately for you Mac users, there's an easy way. It is, there's photo continuity where if you, in your computer, click everything, your, let's say your iPad, your iPhone, your iMac, or your MacBook Pro, whatever it is you use, there's one button you click and your photos go to all three. So you can just pull up that photo, click, and your picture is there. Now, for the rest of you, it's easy.
PC user.
Yes, we are a split house. For you guys, your Android users, your Microsoft users, you have to go to really Google Photos, or does Microsoft have a photo platform? I'm not real sure. But they, to be able to sync your photos, Google Photos is a good one. Unfortunately, they have a program, but it's not well maintained. So there's just an extra little step in there. So.
Yeah. No, clearly Mac does a lot of very good ease of use things.
Yes.
So, it leaves many PC users a little envious at times. And that's one of them.
All righty, we're going to open it up for questions. Let me see if we have any. I didn't see any at the moment, but let me just refresh real fast and see. I don't think we do, but as always, you can drop the questions in the chat. Or you can email us. If you're watching the replay, just drop the hashtag replay in the chat so that we will see it and we will answer your questions. Now, it can be any IT question, doesn't have to pertain to what we were talking about today or cybersecurity or anything we've had in the past. So just any IT question you have, and we appreciate your support. Thank you for joining us today. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye now.